Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Matthew Douglas, and I am the president of the PR Masters, a specialty Toastmasters club that focuses on PR and marketing topics. It is July 7th, 2022, and this evening our Toastmaster is Bob Hall.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Matthew. My first time being the Toastmaster of this group and incoming VP of Public Relations. Some exciting things happening for the rest of the year. Today's meeting, the theme is PR Club Success Planning. We got a couple of speakers who are going to be speaking in and around that theme. We have some engagement managers who are going to bring us in. We've got a show your website piece. We've got some other exciting things going on here. So, but the team today, it consists of Joe is the general evaluator. Joe, can you introduce or tell us who the evaluators are going to be today?
Sure. I think our first evaluator will be Bill Marr, evaluating Maren's speech. And our second evaluator will be Jill Bell, who will be evaluating Fred's speech.
Thank you. Our timer today, the Carissa, will tell us all of the events that she's going to be timing and what the rules are.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Carissa Young. I will time our two prepared speeches. Our first one, Maren, is 5 to 7 minutes. Is that not correct? Okay, so I will show, as you may be used to, green at 5, yellow at 6, red at 7 for Fred. Fred's speech is 8 to 10 minutes. So green at 8, yellow at 9, red at 10, 30 seconds to wrap up after that, per regulations. Or table topics, or our specialized table topics, show your page. Pardon me, too many controls. Unless told otherwise, I will do the usual 1 to 2 minute timing for table topics, with green at 1, yellow at 1:30, and red at 2 minutes. Thank you.
And then dear PR Masters, same thing, right?
Yes.
Just keep people on track in their responses. Great. Okay. Group feedback leader. This is another special thing that our club does. Group feedback leader. Matthew, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing today.
There we go. I am going to be doing some fast feedback from our entire audience here today to get feedback on Maren's speech. So once she is done, be ready for your opportunity to provide her with some fast feedback.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we get to the meat and potatoes of the show here. We have 2 prepared speakers and 2 evaluators. The first speaker on the docket tonight is Maren, and evaluating her will be Bill. Bill will be evaluating her. Bill, do you have the evaluation criteria that you can be looking for in her speech?
I do, Mr. Toastmaster. Mara was so efficient in getting me that information because of the situation this evening, which I appreciate. Mara and I, we've known each other for a while since she's been in Toastmasters, and I really appreciate her style and her dedication to improving her abilities as a Toastmaster. This particular speech tonight I'm looking forward to ought to make to focus on your members. She's looking for what I'm going to be looking for, how she presents herself, her vocal variety, gestures, how she includes the audience, those kinds of things. she's going to want to know some things about how she's coming across and connecting with the audience. So Matthew, maybe that's something that you can kind of tune into afterwards. And also just being able to present a very clear, and I'm going to listen for a call to action and see how that generates us to motivate ourselves to improve not only this club, but the clubs that we are also members of. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Back to you.
Thank you for that very complete description. Well, it is my pleasure tonight to introduce Maren. She's a member of New Horizons Toastmasters Club of Tualatin, Oregon. She has held Toastmasters leadership roles as Club Sergeant at Arms and President. She is the founding member of PR Masters and last year's VP Public Relations. I'm excited and a bit trepidatious to be stepping into her shoes this year. Outside of Toastmasters, Maren is a project manager, a change manager, and a communications strategist. Whew, that's a lot of hats. She works hard to manage time, quality, and delivery for teams, systems, and products. Learning about communications is an ongoing and necessary journey. Maren appreciates the knowledge that she gains from the mix of people and experiences found in public relations in PR Masters. Tonight, Maren is sharing her thoughts on strategic PR planning and her thoughts on where we should spend the majority of our time. But, of course, it depends upon doing some work along the way to build in time-saving, partially automated, and automated strategies. Here is Maren Ziba with Automate to Focus on Your Members. Maren.
Thank you, Bob, for that introduction. If you saw the ad for this meeting and this presentation, I equated this conversation to crock pot cooking. Is everyone here familiar with a crock pot? Hands up. Say it's an audience day. Crock pot, it's a machine where you dump the food in, you plug it in, and you walk away. Sometimes you might come over and lift the lid and smell a little bit, maybe take a taste, but ultimately a huge percentage of the work is done in the background, and we do other things with our time. Up front, right away, where do I think our focus should be? On our members and on our member experience and our meetings, which are all part of making a great meeting crockpot experience for our clubs, right? As we move forward and as I've been exploring who we are as a district and as a club, been asking questions in our Facebook group. If you haven't joined, join our Facebook group. And one of those is being really honest about our club size. And sure, there's one club who responded has 30 or more members. That would be Daniel Brewer's new club. And we are, doing fine, the 20s, staying in that good range. But there's a lot of clubs that are down at 6. And that can be really overwhelming and feel like, how do we get out of this position? And it's good to know that my club that's consistently over 20 used to have 3 members, and you can get out of that situation. So what can we do to create our crock pot? And I see Jim Robeson coming in this meeting, and I'm going to repeat some stuff from last year. Sometimes we have to hear it again. It's the beginning of the Toastmasters year. It's quarter 1. What do we need to do to know that we're set up and we're ready? We need to know our links to our meetings, and they need to be highly visible. They also need to be easy for people to get there. Whether you're in person, where's that address? If you're on Zoom, where's the link? Is it correct? Do you have a passcode? Do you have registration? How do people get to your meeting? I encourage you to have fewer barriers, fewer steps to access. Make it easy for people. How do we preset this so that they find it? Does your club have a website? So a little show of hands here. How many clubs have a website? And by website, I mean, let's start with Free Toast Toast. Who uses Free Toast Toast in their club? Nadine does. Okay. Who uses Easy Speak? Okay. Who has built something else? Could happen. One person. Perfect. All right. Who uses both Easy Speak and Free Toast? All right. This is fun. My club does not know that we have both. And why do we have both? We use one as our main platform, but the other one is part of Toastmasters, so someone could still find our club there. So if you're in a position, I didn't see anyone without a website. Anyone want to raise their hand and say, I don't have a website? No one. Okay. If you run into a club that doesn't have a website, make sure they connect with their district to help them get a website. Part of our setup for success is to make sure our Toastmasters International site is connecting correctly to our main website with the correct links and accesses to our club so that people can get to our meetings. It's said in the background, a percentage of people come into Toastmasters through Toastmasters International. And what this conversation really is about is just setting up as many potential touchpoint portals as possible that can run in the background for us while we're doing other PR strategies. We're doing our weekly meeting strategy. We're encouraging our members to be inviting guests in. These are the things that you might get a few in a year coming in through these portals. You want to have as many opportunities as possible. Websites are set up. Next question. Nadine, your hand is up, but I think you're frozen, so I don't think you have a question. But my next question for everyone here is how many people are using a social media platform? Okay, hand raises for that one. Feel free to use the electronic tool in the hand raising. How many people have transitioned to using some kind of social media in their marketing? My hands are coming up. Okay, perfect. If you haven't transitioned your club to using some form of social media, I encourage you to discover if your club members are using social media. This will help you pick the platform that may work best for your club. In my case, I use the social media that creates the most engagement for my club members because the member experience is the base of where I do most of our marketing. And then I figure out how to do outreach. In our case, we have both a Facebook page and a Facebook group, and we have like hesitant steps into LinkedIn. My automation encouragement in the Facebook arena is utilizing the events feature more often. We've gotten really good at posting, but not as good at using the events function. Why am I interested in that? I've been posting a lot of events for PR Masters, and I thought, how am I going to make this work easier for Bob next year? And how can I preset the meetings for him so he has less work? And so I went into our Facebook group and I was like, oh, I can just recur the events, the meetings. And I did that. And I thought, oh, this is super exciting. And then I realized I can't change the image. If you've been around me long enough, I really believe in having a suite of images that you can rotate through so people don't get bored. My one tip for you is to duplicate your events. And you can do them in blocks. You could do an entire quarter of meetings with set information about your club, with the links that you need, all pre-arranged in your LinkedIn, in your Facebook page, in your Facebook group. And it's really a copy and paste function, a couple hours of work, and you've got an entire quarter done. It's that base of information. Why is someone coming to Toastmasters? In PR Masters, my focus is marketing to Toastmasters. But how do we get people into our club? It's those people who need to do a speech at a wedding, folks who want to expand their career opportunities, people who want to network. Maybe they have a small business, they want to meet more people, people who are just generally nervous around presentations and want to grow skills. Those phrasings, when you put it into your write-ups and how you market, will draw in people who are not familiar with Toastmasters. Having these things preset in your crock pot means that you can always ask a member like, hey, this month would you share this event twice in your personal feed? They don't have to find the links. They don't have to create the information. It's already there, preset for them, and they can take that action step. That stretch step, where often there's many uncomfortable Toastmasters who are like, wow, that feels really public for me to share onto my personal feed. By setting it up and making it easy for them, they're more likely to take that action step and publicly say, I'm in Toastmasters on social media. Now, this is nice, but what if you're a club of 6? I'm gonna hope you have that website. I'm gonna hope that you can do some social media, but maybe you can't. But what's one way that you can really go public? Maybe you don't have time to do this social media thing. My question is, how many of you have ever tried doing an event on Eventbrite? Anyone ever done a Toastmasters event on Eventbrite? Okay. I suggest Eventbrite as a great platform to try because it's free. If you know anything about me, I'm always looking for this free opportunity for our clubs. That's the reason I use Canva for our images. The reason Marcy uses a different program for her images. Eventbrite takes a little time to understand. But if you set up your weekly events in Eventbrite, Eventbrite is completely outside of the Toastmasters sphere, and it will start showing up on people's feeds. Try a Toastmasters meeting. Hey, do you want to work on your public speaking skills? Are you nervous in front of a crowd? This gets us in front of people who aren't familiar with Toastmasters. Once again, you'll have this preset rolling event structure that's always running in the background. But I have a challenge for you. Quarter 1, if you can get some of these reoccurring events set up, fantastic. If you have the extra folks and the extra time and the extra people, even they're not, or the enthusiastic people, are they extra? I challenge you to do an event in quarter 1. So you can have a standard meeting rollout going out on Eventbrite, and then you could pick one that's going to be a special event. And that's going to be a push event where maybe you change up your marketing as what it is. Maybe it's an all table topics meeting. Maybe it's a special guest, something your members are interested in, because I believe in focusing on our members. Don't try to sell it to someone who's outside. They'll be attracted to your members being excited about your event, and then they'll feel that enthusiasm of the club. My challenge to you in quarter 1 is to set up an Eventbrite system, get your regular weekly meetings rolling, and then do one special event. Those special events will exist out on the internet forever. Of course, there's some nuances, and I encourage you to make mistakes because you'll learn from those mistakes. Just start the action, and then you go, oh, that didn't quite work. That didn't quite connect. What else can Eventbrite do for you in the automation area? There are ways to set up your email system so that it will automatically ping people that the meeting is approaching. It will automatically provide the link. You can ask registration questions. All good things for automation and learning more about people coming into your club. This is how you can really get outside of Toastmasters, market less to fellow Toastmasters, and bring new people into the Toastmasters experience. That is my crock pot for today. I hope that you consider trying a few of these strategies. It takes a little work up front. I'm happy to help. I know that there's other experts in the district and across Toastmasters that can help. Try one and see how it works for you. Track over a year and come back to us and tell us how it went. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Maren, for that, for the Crockpot School of PR. Awesome! What a great concept. Now, Matthew, do you want to do the group feedback after each speech or at the very end?
Do it now.
Okay.
In the chat, I have provided a link. And I'm going to give everybody up to a minute to type in an answer. And my question is, what are you going to do based on Maren's speech? Maybe something she shared inspired you and you think that is something that I can do this week or next week for my other club. Or maybe it inspired a new idea. And I will share my screen and show you some of that feedback coming at us. But definitely testing out Eventbrite, setting up scheduling of pre-written posts, some other Eventbrites, thinking about the member experience, making ads in Canva, sharing posts in LinkedIn and Facebook. One of the things that's exciting after hearing a speech like this is thinking about all the ways in which you can take something of value and go apply it. And that was one thing I especially appreciated about Maren's speech. Reusing text and images across social media. For me, the big takeaway, I haven't had a chance to write it myself, is that my Easy Speak needs a little bit of attention. She talked about making sure that your club is discoverable. And that is high on the list. I've got the logins I need now to be able to go in and make sure that that happens. Feel free, if you're still typing, to go ahead and finish that up. I'll share all this feedback with Maren. But thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Matthew. That's some great feedback there. It's a message that is practical. I mean, we can take that back. We can actually do something with that. Thank you very much for those. That good stuff. It challenges me personally too. Thank you. Okay. Our second speaker today will be evaluated by Jill. Are you here, Jill? Yes. Okay, Jill, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be looking for in Fred's speech today.
Yes, thank you, Bob. I'm excited to have the opportunity to evaluate Fred's speech tonight. He is working on a level 3 innovative planning pathway project. And tonight I am going to be listening for a well-organized speech that lends well to visual aids. The visual aids that he selected, I believe we're going to be learning about mobile video making, mobile movie making. And we are going to be watching for the effective use of these visual aids. We're also going to be making sure, I'm also going to be making sure that his visual aids are seamless and work to enhance the content of his speech.
Thank you, Joe. All right, so Fred is a second generation Navy Seabee veteran, seasoned Toastmaster since August 2014, and a very proud chartering member of PR Masters in District 7, not his home district, I might say. He lives in Florida. He's also the current area director for Area 92 in Division H under Emily Myers, and loves poker, photography, and most recently, videography. Fred's speech, as Jill said, is entitled Mobile Movie Making, where he tells us about how anyone can take great videos by using their phone or tablet. He's working from Pathways Level 3 Innovative Planning under the project Create Effective Visual Aids. Please help us give a warm PR Masters welcome to Fred.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, I have a question for everybody here. Let me get this screen up here. Show of hands. how many people feel you need to have expensive equipment to take great videos? Either physical show of hands or digital. Well, tonight I'm here to bust that myth if that's what you think. Mostly what I'm going to be talking about are fundamentals, because if you don't have the fundamentals, equipment does you no good. So to move on, you heard Jill earlier talk about content. Something else you're going to hear a lot in videography and photography is composition. You may ask, what's the difference? Well, this is the meaning of content, but think of content as what you're creating. So anything you post on social media, your websites, think of that as content. This is a definition of composition. And the best way to remember composition is the end result. What will people see based on your content is going to be the composition. There's an acronym I'd like you to remember to help become a better videographer, and that is LAMP, starting with the letter L, and that is lighting. It is critical that you have good lighting when you start taking video. The other one would be audio, which is probably the most critical if you have sound at all in any of your videos, because people won't forgive you if they can't see you, but they'll be less forgiving if they can't hear you. Then there's movement. So rather than just standing in one place, there's different movements. There's the push in, the pull out, and the slide, which can usually be done on a device or with very slight movement. And then finally, there's purpose. When you shoot your video, don't just shoot for the sake of shooting. Have some type of purpose or intent when you shoot your videos. When you put this all together, you're going to get something such as this video right here that was shot with an iPhone. And the sound disappeared. So we'll just have to pretend that there's sound there, because it played back on my computer fine. And I'm going to stop sharing that. It's actually over a minute, but I'm going to stop sharing that. Oh. And go back to the next slide. Well, let's just let it play out here. Okay, so let's see if I can go back to the screen here. This is what you call the exposure triangle. But that was an example of what you saw that was shot on an iPhone. And I apologize if the sound didn't work. It worked on my end. It's probably something with Zoom. But just remember the exposure triangle when you're taking video. I'm not going to go in depth about all of them, but there's a brief explanation about the exposure triangle right here. And if you notice, the word light is mentioned in here 3 times. So that's why lighting is critical. If you remember in my photography speech I did, I was talking about grid lines and the rule of thirds. Well, the same thing's going to apply when you're doing video. And if you're using an Android device, these are the settings you would do for the grid lines on your Android device. And these are the settings you're going to use on an Apple. So when you're using your grid lines on a video and you're doing what's called a talking head or interviewing somebody, is where your grid lines are going to be if the person is sitting down. So you're going to have this right in the corner of their eye here, and it's utilizing what's called the rule of thirds. Next is going to be something called frame rate, also known as frames per second, that you're going to want to know when you're shooting video on your mobile device. 24 frames per second is going to be the most common. 30 is typical on most mobile phones, and the default of most. My main phone only does 30 frames per second. Then there's 60, 120, and higher. The higher your frame rate is, basically that's made for post-production if you want to slow things down later. Also remember, if you remember the exposure triangle, that your shutter speed is double the frame rate. So if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, your shutter speed is either going to be 1/48th or 1/50th of a second. If you're shooting in 30 frames per second, your shutter speed is going to be 1/60th, etc. This is how you set your frame rate if you're using an Apple. If you're using an Android, it's going to vary on your device. Like I said, my main phone, it has one setting and one setting only, so I can't change anything on it to change the frame rate. If you're doing an interview, talking head, as you saw the person earlier, 24 frames per second is typically what you want to shoot in, but if your device only shoots in 30 frames per second, 30 frames per second is fine as well. Then there's resolution, which is the size of the video that you're capturing. And you're going to hear two different resolution sizes. The two most common are 1080p, which is the industry standard. And then there's 4K, also known as ultra high definition. And then it goes higher up to 8 and 16. But you don't see a lot of that lately. And also notice the direction of how I have the resolution. That's usually how you want to hold your device when you're shooting 90% of the time, unless you just want the whole person in view from head to toe. There's something called focal length, which is basically the distance from the lens to the camera sensor and your subject. These are some pictures of what focal length is to give you an idea, whether you're using a full-fledged camera or your mobile device. And the thing that focal length influences are your field of view and your scene compression. These are examples of the different types of focal length. So as you see here, it has to do with the distance. So either the lens you're using or the distance you are from your subject is going to make a difference from a big field of view to a smaller field of view, as you see in all four of these pictures. Then there's something called leading lines. Just like photography, leading lines is supposed to lead you to the subject or lead you to a main part of the video or the photograph. So make sure you have some good leading lines in there when you take videos. Then there's something called white balance. The scale you see on the bottom, if you set the white balance on your video settings, these are the different, this is the scale that you're going to see. You can also shoot in auto white balance, but it's basically saying it's the balancing of colors in an image. And a couple of things to remember with white balance is to turn off the lights that contrast color temperature and to match the white balance to a white object in your scene. These are some apps that you can use for recording and for editing. The most common one and the one that I use is called Filmic Pro. It is available on the Apple and the Android. It's only $15 for the year. Then there's an accommodating one called Filmic Remote, which means you can use your phone, another phone, to see what you're shooting on the other device. Then there's Pro Camera by Moment, which is strictly for Apple. And then there's Open Camera, which is free, which is Apple and Android. And all these give you professional settings on your mobile device. And then after you shoot video, you also want to do some video editing. These are a few that are pretty popular, Adobe being the top one, Movavi, which I am about to purchase. It's only available on your computer, and there's 3 different prices. Then there's Video Leap, which can only be done on your mobile device, and it's one of the more popular ones as well. Some equipment you might want to consider to take great videos is to use a tripod. You can use a tabletop or a full-fledged tripod, a pistol grip, a gimbal. I use this stabilizer right here, and this vlogging kit I got from Target for about $40 that comes with a light, a microphone, an adapter, and a tabletop tripod and a Bluetooth remote. So that way you don't have to push the button and have a little bit of shake on your device when you take the photo. A couple of file extensions you're going to look at when you're taking photos. The most common is MP4. If you're shooting with an Apple, it's going to be in .mov, but you can also convert it to MP4. And if I can end in the saying by Larry Bird, that he said you must first master the fundamentals. So I will stop sharing, and I'm at the 10-minute mark. So there's no time for questions, and I will turn things back over to Bob.
Thank you, Fred. Just we're on schedule here at what time is it? 7:36. We're right on time here. Group feedback leader Matthew, you want to take us through some group feedback here?
Yes. Yes, once again, I've got a link to share. It's the same as before, but it will now, once you've completed Maren's, it will take you to the next question, which is about how you may have been inspired to make some mobile movies. And we really hope you are. What are your biggest takeaways about mobile movie making? How is this going to be something that could be real for you? And we all know, we've all seen, in whether it's in social, we've seen short video clips, we've seen the applications like TikTok and that kind of thing that use social video, and just how incredibly powerful those can be. So hopefully this is something that has inspired you to take that leap. I'm going to share my screen so we can see the feedback coming in. It can be a dynamic way to show off the fun we have in events. Absolutely. Sometimes it can be hard with great photography, or even with great screenshots, to show some of the play and the banter that happens in our meetings. It was a good overview. It was helpful for creating successful videos or for understanding the nuts and bolts. The idea that we don't need a lot of equipment, that everything we probably need, we have, all of us, floating around in our pockets, or that it's inexpensive and accessible, whether it's software or hardware. That phones can make incredible videos, absolutely. Someone's saying they're really glad we record this because there was a lot of rich information there. Yes, absolutely. There was a ton of really good content in there. But in particular, thinking about your focal length, it was a highly educational presentation. If you are still working on your feedback, I would encourage you to continue to do that. This poll stays open and I can share the results with Fred.
Thank you, Matthew. Well, Carissa, how do we do on time?
Maren's speech was 12 minutes and 9 seconds. Fred's was 11 minutes and 23 seconds. A lot of content. Bravo.
Thank you. Hopefully a time report that helps our speakers. Now, I guess, Matthew, at this point, we bring you up to talk about some club business.
Yes, indeed. Club business. It's a new year for us as Toastmasters. So I would like to congratulate and especially to thank our incoming cast of characters, our incoming dignitaries who have roles for this club that make it work. And most especially at this point, I want to remind all of the members that we have planning meetings that occur opposite of the monthly cadence that we have for our monthly meeting. And if you think that this is valuable, wait till you come to a planning meeting. We get to talk about all the big high-level concepts that we are interested in as Toastmasters, the big things that we want to learn about on PR topics. And we can talk about how we want to learn them. And there are lots of ways. We can have individual contributors. You just saw two of them who know a lot about a topic or are willing to research about that topic and prepare speeches. We can go and look for guest speakers who we think would be incredibly knowledgeable for us to come. We can work as a team to research a topic and completely blow up this format and try something totally new. As you've seen with PR Masters, we like to do things differently. We like to try and experiment, and we think that that's one of the hallmarks that makes us a great club. So I would encourage you to go to PR Masters website, find the link for our planning meeting, which will happen in a couple of weeks, and to sign up and join us. Most especially because we want to hear your voice. We want to hear the kinds of topics you are interested in learning about because it matters to us. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Matthew. That's great. It's interesting that you say that we do things a little differently in this club. Table topics is a little different. You've never seen one of our table topics before. It's a slightly different format. Today is no exception. We have two different table topics today: Show Your Page and Dear PR Masters. And I'm going to ask each of those persons to give us a little bit of a thumbnail description of what it is before they launch into it. Marcy will be leading our Show Your Page section today. So Marcy, tee that up for us and then take us into that, will you?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. What a delight to be here tonight and to provide an opportunity that you may not have been aware of when you visit a PR Masters meeting. Our table topic, Show Your Page, I don't know, our format for Show Your Page is open to anybody that comes to one of our meetings. So perhaps you're updating your Facebook page. Perhaps you're updating your website. You may be doing something on LinkedIn, or like I'm going to share tonight, you may be venturing off into Instagram and you're wanting to get some feedback as to what you could do to make the members' experience that Maren talked about earlier better. How do we engage with our audience and make it a great experience for them? How do we show the vitality and the excitement that is happening in our meetings through our pages? If you'd like to present and show your page and get feedback from anybody in the audience, please reach out to us and we'd be delighted to highlight your page. And tonight, I'm delighted to know that my home club and the lady who started our Instagram page is here in the audience with us tonight. Welcome, Lisa Branch. And she took us off into Instagram. This is something new. Therefore, to share, we have been very successful on Facebook, and Lisa has done an incredible job over the last year as our VPPR in promoting our club and helping us to achieve President's Distinguished status in the club success. As we have seen also with the members here, very much proud of the fact that PR Masters in our first year was also a select distinguished club. I'm very proud of this. But now I am going to share my screen, and I would like to first, so I'm going to bring up, this is the page that I would like your feedback from. Now, the way this works for you tonight is I will show you the page, and you will have 1 to 2 minutes to comment and provide any feedback that you would like to provide us on this page, things that you think work well, things that perhaps would increase engagement, and any suggestions that you have for us. Due to the nature of our club, I'm just going to put out a couple of things that I love. I love that we were able to amplify and make our logo here. We still use the Toastmasters logo in the correct way, but we've indicated that we are a President's Distinguished Club for 2021-2022. Very excited for that. The reasons, what we have here, and we're using Linktree to provide you access. If someone clicks on our link and is looking for Toastmasters Calgary South, this will come up. And this is, like I said, we've just started on this. It's brand new. And Lisa is using a grid pattern in putting it up. And I will go from the beginning. This is her post, the initial post that we had, that we were very excited to join in become visible on Instagram. She also invited us to check people out on our YouTube channel. And we have a brand new VPPR who was very excited to get us on LinkedIn. We have an account, and this is part of the process to let people know how they connect with us. I believe someone tonight mentioned that you want to have those touch points that people can find you and know what's happening. What else do we offer? Is tips, motivational. I love quotes. We shared the news because one of the things that we've learned is the power of the personal stories and personal pictures as it goes forward. So I'm going to go back now. This was the beginning of this. Okay, so back to the beginning, and I'm just going to take this and I'll drop it into the chat. And I would open it up to anybody who wants to provide some feedback. If you raise your hand, we will ask, and you will have 1 to 2 minutes to provide any feedback. We would greatly appreciate it with regards to this. Bob.
Yeah, this is, it looks very nice. I like the way that you got the colors and it's branded. The first thing that I keyed on, though, was the words "of the Year Awards," and with the logo Toastmasters next to it. And it looked, at first blush, like you were trying to say Toastmaster of the Year Awards. But I don't think that's what your intent is. Because down below it says Rookie of the Year or PR of the Year. It would have, maybe it would make more sense to put "of the year" in quotes, so that you don't think it's related directly to the Toastmasters logo. I mean, that kind of caused me a stumble when I first looked at it.
Thank you, Bob. I'm having problems sharing this in the chat. Okay, Bill.
Yeah, a couple of things. In relation to what Bob was just sharing, maybe if you just had 2021-22 awards, and then that way it would be the numerical of the year, and then it would be not as confusing, but I agree with him. Secondly, how how often do you try to add new posts? I work at a high school, and Instagram is a very popular way for a lot of clubs and organizations to get the word out. And they're doing stuff 2, 3, 4 times a week. Probably a bit much for a Toastmasters club. But how often does your club try to post something new?
I do not have an answer for you for that right now. I know that we're transitioning from our past VPPR to our new VPPR. And we're also looking to have the team contribute, as Maren has asked us. I agree with you. I believe that the opportunity is to probably go at least 3 times a week, I think would make something vital and new. It is just helping people take on the new roles in transition. And I don't know what the vision is for that, but I'm sure it'll be part of our conversations moving forward. So valuable feedback. Thank you. Jennifer.
Yes, I love the branding as well. I did want to say that the top of it with the text, it's a little small. If you could make it a little bigger, that would be helpful, along with the presidential. I love the seal, but it should be a little bigger, I think, just so it really stands out, because that's a big deal. And then also your picture is very cute, but I'd flip it. So you're looking in, not out, because it looks like you're looking away from the words as opposed to towards the words. So that's what I'd recommend.
Great suggestion. Thank you very much. Matthew.
Yeah, thanks. There are a couple of quick pieces of feedback that I'll share. One is in line with what Maren had talked about, having a crock pot, right? Things that work for you. There are scheduling tools that you can use for Instagram to schedule posts to happen at certain times of the day. And Instagram moves pretty quickly. The prime times for Instagram, when people are using the platform and consuming, starts at about 10 a.m. and goes until about 4 p.m. It's just when people are on the platform. Accordingly, I would suggest that you consider the time that you are posting stuff. The second thing is that Instagram works largely on hashtags. So using hashtags will help people who have an interest, as opposed to are specifically following your Instagram, to find your material. So that's super important. And then the third thing is that Instagram tends toward more conversational, more loose. And you might feel free to do some experimentation where the posts are more about things that are timely, speeches that are coming up, things that your club is doing, things you're doing outside your club, as opposed to major announcements. So those would be my 3 pieces of feedback.
Great. Thank you very much. I see that we have reached our yellow light on this. I would say I'm going to stop sharing now. Madam Timer or Mr. Toastmaster, do we have time? I see we just, Joe has his hand up, so there's one more. Do I have time, or should I just move forward?
You have time. You have time.
According to the schedule, Dear PR Masters doesn't start until 8:02.
Well,
so you've got a few more, five or six more minutes here.
Thank you very much.
See, Carissa had her hand up for quite a while. She was the first one to put her hand up. She hasn't been called on yet.
I think that she's got her hand up to keep herself in that upper corner as timer. But if you have comments, Carissa, I would really appreciate them. But I will go to Joe first, and you can.
Okay, my mistake.
Thanks, Marcy. Yeah, I just had a couple kind of minor formatting things I noticed. Up near the top, there's some text that's all lowercase, and maybe it's just me, but when I see things that look like they should be capitalized, it kind of bugs me to see the lowercase. So some of those early text up at the top, you might consider capitalizing the first words of those. And then the other thing was consistency in imaging. Some of the big quotes, I noticed the quote marks are on one of the quotes, were at the end of the quote, but before the person, and another one, the quote marks were after the person, after the entire text. And another one didn't have a person cited for the quote, and maybe that's just a general quote that isn't attributed to any particular person, but I just thought that looked a little inconsistent to my eye, so I would consider making that consistent, at least placing the final quote marks after the quote and before the person. But those are just some minor editing things I noticed.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. I'm just scanning through right now. And Josephine's phone, I see that Josephine added regarding hashtags. I read years ago to limit the number of tags to about 4. Today, I see people use 10 or even more. My thoughts on that, what I've learned is up to 15. And you go anywhere from general tags to very specific for people to follow you is the process that I follow in doing hashtags on Instagram. I also put some right in with the picture at first, and then I put some, my scheduling tool enables me to make my first comments is hashtags, and that will draw people to you in that way. Just feedback on that. Okay. Yeah, but you want to go from a general audience to a specific audience with your hashtags with that, and ones where people will find you generally. But the recommendation in the information I've read, and it really depends on the medium. So Instagram is more hashtags. However, there are purists on Facebook that like no hashtags whatsoever. And that's where you would have fewer hashtags with that, if that helps at all with someone to do that. Okay. The other thing that is really great is that you have the opportunity to put a location in for your Instagram page. We have a page and we can use our name over again. And I know that for my clients, when I do this professionally, I always am tagging, I put in the location indicator for them there all the time. That helps. Okay, great. Okay, Carissa, please go ahead. I would love to hear your feedback. I see that I've still got a few minutes.
Yep. Well, first, I wanted to congratulate you on or whoever was responsible for this for the branding compliance in terms of obviously intentionally using the right font, the right colors, and that's a lot of intentional effort I don't always see. Number 2, you have used Linktree well. I saw you have a Linktree link there, and it opens up to a few links that are very essential and relevant. And I've seen that used worse. I think you've used it very nicely. Again, also with branding, if anyone opens that up, you'll see that. Third thing, you don't have many followers yet though, and maybe it's because it's a new page, but use this opportunity right now to invite us all to follow your page. There's my feedback.
We do another unique thing. What did we call it? It was where everybody came on and liked our pages. So
follow.
Please follow our page. It's a flashlight. Yes, that's it. A flash follow. If you would please go to Calgary South, we would be delighted to have your support and to receive your continued feedback. Thank you very much, Carissa. And I see one more opportunity, and do you have anything else, Carissa? Okay, Maren, you are on deck. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. I also wanted to compliment you on the use of the photographs of your club members and that they look like real people. And I always appreciate, they are real people, and I always appreciate that. So we have that efficiency strategy of using anything that Toastmasters gives us. And I love that you took that extra step to do that celebration of members. And that's where I like our energy to be focused, because that gives our members good feelings. And we want the good feelings. And what I love about your expansion onto different platforms for social media is that it's a two-way conversation. Our email streams tend to be one directional and only two people usually see them. And so when we can build these structures where people can talk back and forth, those are ongoing touch points with our members. And then when our guests join our social media, they see the environment that we're creating and go, hey, I want to be a part of that. So when I saw your Instagram, and I know this is the initial rollout, I'm like, that's engaging. I would like to meet those people. That's just some nice messages. And I like the casualness of the swirl at the background too. So great work. I would agree with Joe that I think the words that are like the caption of your community could probably use a little zhuzhing. What are you all about? What are those strong words? Building leadership skills, building communication skills, meeting new people, creating relationships. So you might look at how you're featuring your community on the upfront page. But other than that, fantastic project.
Okay, I will take over from here since we're at 8:02. Marcy, thank you so much for sharing that. Fantastic. I logged on and I followed it. Okay, it's really simple, easy to do. Encourage everybody to do that. The next table topic session that is, again, unique to PR Masters is Dear PR Masters, and that will be led by our dear Jennifer Schmidt. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about what the heck this is.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Dear PR Masters is about asking a question of the audience, similar to Dear Abby. So it's like in a Dear Abby format about a PR related question. And we ask the audience for their suggestions to help the letter writer. So I will start by reading the letter. Dear PR Masters, I have just started as the newly elected Vice President of Public Relations for my club. I'm excited and have so many ideas, like inviting guest speakers, advertising contests, and giving our Facebook a real boost. But I don't know what is the best plan for getting started. I'm only one person and really want to put our club on the map. What is the best way to plan out the year and get some help? Signed, eagerly in search of a plan. Now I'm on a tablet. If somebody wants to raise their hand or help me out or point out somebody and I can't see them, please let me know.
Jim Robinson has raised his hand.
All right, Jim, go ahead.
Okay, well, Dear Lonely, I would suggest the first thing to realize is that you are not only one person. There are all the members of your club, and just make that a point of every time you speak with your club members every time you're at the meeting. Just make it a point that everyone in the club participates in publicizing the club.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Again, I'm looking for hands. If somebody's, do you see?
Are you looking for somebody to answer the same question?
Yes, we're for suggestions for what they can do with planning, because they're eagerly in search of a plan. They're brand new. They want to know how to handle it all because it's a new year, new Toastmasters year. They have a lot of great ideas.
They say that the cream rises to the top, and Maren's at the top of the screen, ready to answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I would share those ideas with your club and your leadership team and see how you can implement them. Ask for help. Like, so many things go better when you ask for help. There also are previous VPPRs probably in your club and people with other skills that you might not know about who may be able to give you those access codes to the Eventbrite or the access codes to the administration behind your Facebook page. But what I would say is pick your favorite idea, the thing that you're like, oh, I really want to do this, and make sure you get it done. Make sure you do that. Also consider your club members. So your idea is a great idea. Where are your club members at? So if you're about to do everything on social media and you have one member who's on email, remember the one member on email. So write your post on social media, maybe send that member the email. Balance that out so that they still feel included, because there is a percentage of people who refuse to get on social media, and don't leave them behind. So my suggestion is always watch for that member that might be getting left behind.
Thank you very much. Great suggestions there. Do you see?
Next hand this raises Matthew.
All right, Matthew.
I would say a club success plan is a great place to start as a club, especially at this time of year. It's a chance for all of your officers to get together and think about what's going to make you successful as a club. And most importantly, to think about how you're going to do it together.
All right. Thank you.
Well, we have some guests. We have some guests in the room here today. We've got Lisa and Maria, Josephine, Nadine. We haven't heard from them yet, so feel free to jump in here and answer this question. Marcy, you have your hand raised.
I appreciate that you're asking the question, dear Lonely, and looking for some help. A great opportunity that our clubs have is moments of truth to find out what is working and what isn't perhaps working in areas that could be fine-tuned. You may want to talk if you're, I'm uncertain whether you're on the club executive and wanting to have a plan, or if you are just an individual member wanting to have a plan. All of our individual members' plans contribute to our club's success. You achieving success helps our club achieve success. Your participation in a moments of truth, in talking with your club officers, will help you have that experience within the club at our meetings, but will also help us as a club have great success. I'm not sure exactly where you're at in doing this, but I know that moments of truth, as we go into that experience, and I believe that everybody within our audience right now knows what I'm talking about. If you don't, it is something to explore. It's where we provide feedback in 6 strategic areas to our club officers to help them work on their club success plan. Recommendation for that: best wishes in finding a plan and making it and working the plan.
Thank you. Oh, and we do have a guest, Lisa. Lisa, welcome.
Do you see any more hands up for this?
Yes, Lisa Busenbark.
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. I fell into that mute void. The question is a great question, and as a new member, perhaps moving into this role, it could be quite overwhelming. But to piggyback off what Maren has said, don't worry about perfection, do your best to keep improving week over week. Experiment. If something doesn't work right, if you're not getting the feedback that you need, you're not getting any new members joining your weekly meetings, try something different. As well as, who are your area directors? Who are your district division leaders? Can you ask them for help? Ask them for guest speakers. Ask them for ideas on how to attract new members, are some of the suggestions that are popping in my mind tonight.
That's a great idea. In fact, we've got some past division directors, area directors on the call who are guests, and perhaps they'd like to chime in and piggyback on what you just said.
Are you talking about me, Bob? Okay, well, what do we do? Yes, thinking outside the box, I should say we elected a very brand new VP of membership in our club. She's my friend, she lives in Seattle, and she was on the fence. Should I join or not? Because, you know, she's a little bit far, but we're online. And I can tell you that she is the most energetic, enthusiastic VP of membership I ever seen in my club. Sometimes, you know, improvising without really, and she did not even go to any training yet. But sometimes, you know, thinking about tapping into our skills. Don't be afraid, like Maren, Maren, you said, just improvise. And because things, you know, things work for a certain club don't necessarily work for another club. So really experimenting. And in Toastmaster, what do? We learn as we do it, the way, you know, we learn it as we're doing it. So there is also this curving learning that we do. So yeah, don't be afraid and just experiment. And something that we're trying in my club, I'm trying to build a relationship with another club. We are small. We are 5 people only showing up for every meeting. And there is another club that also, they have the same thing. So we are trying to do, for example, a picnic in the coming months, so we can get to know each other more, and hopefully we can go to their meeting, they have them come to our meeting. So we're trying to experiment, see if this works. We're not stealing members from their club, but we're just experimenting. I see the yellow there, but this is all what I have for you for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for chipping in, Nadine. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Always good to hear from you.
Thank you.
I think we've got time for 15 to 20 seconds to wrap it up here. You want to bring us home here, Maren?
I have a really obvious answer. You're in a room full of people who are fascinated by PR. And I would say joining this club for a year will provide you with monthly tips. Plus we have this Facebook group. Plus you'll see us, like what we're doing as we go, so you can learn from us. Really, we started from a group of VPPRs and presidents in 2020 who were super stressed out and needed to have support. And this is where we expand our networks. And I now know about Lisa's club. I now know about Jill's club in Corvallis. I know about Marcy's club in Canada. I know about Maria's club in United Arab Emirates. And you just never know what tidbit I'm going to learn from Fred, from Matthew along the way. And you have someone reach out to and say, I have a question. So I'll put my pitch out there. Join PR Masters.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great way to end this. Fantastic. Thank you. Call to action. There you go. You got your call to action in. Okay. Timers report quickly. You got something you want to share with us, Carissa?
It's actually tricky being timer is my report because I time the whole segment, but I time the individual speakers too. But generally all the speakers were under 2 minutes. Some of them were shorter, but I think in this format that worked. And I'll just say that much.
It looks like we're on time. Okay, so evaluations. All right, so now I get to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to turn this over to Joe. Joe is going to bring home the evaluations. Joe, take it away.
Bob. Thanks, Bob. Yes, our first evaluator will be Bill Mayer, who will be evaluating Maren's speech. So let's launch into the evaluations and hear from Bill.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to ask everybody in a moment to raise your hand because Maren wanted some feedback, and I want to get feedback from everybody as well as what I'm going to share with her. The three areas that you get to agree or disagree with by raising your hand is, was she personable? Did you want to listen to the message as she was giving the message? And lastly, did you feel overwhelmed? In a moment, I'll ask you for a raising of hands on those three different items. The title of the speech on the agenda was Automate to Focus on Your Members. And that is a really interesting title, and I really like that. And it was a way to also kind of have us focus in. So how many thought that Maren was personable in her speech tonight? I think we have more hands than not hands, so that's great. How many thought that you wanted to listen to what Maren was sharing during her speech tonight? Okay, more hands than not, very good. How many felt a little overwhelmed with what she was sharing this evening? Be honest. I don't say, oh, I get a couple of, yeah, okay, maybe sort of, okay. And lastly, did you feel encouraged to take next steps at the end of her speech? And some of you did. So that is wonderful. So that meant it was an effective speech. I liked it a lot. I liked the focus, and I liked what you shared. I want to give a couple of suggestions. Some of the things that you did well, you are very personable when you speak. You're a little closer to the camera this than what I'm used to, and so some of your gestures were just barely on screen or maybe a little bit off screen. I don't know if that's because what you're used to and you're in a different environment, but that's just something to think about. You really did have a good way of letting people know what you were presenting. What I really liked, and I wished you would have kind of centered it around, was the whole idea of the crock pot. And I think of those infomercials, and I think of Ron Popeil, set it and forget it. And the way that you can just do that, and you have ingredients, you have your website, your social media, your posting, your Eventbrite, you have all of these ingredients. You kind of got bogged down in that for me. It was a little overwhelming for me when I thought about that. And 12 minutes might be an indication it was a little overwhelming for you. So you think about what your main message is going to be. And I believe your message was going to be, go back to the automate thing. Maybe the title should have been better, Cooking Up Meetings for this next quarter. One of the things that we always hate, what's for dinner? Oh, and if we can just get that organized for a few nights in a row. What if our meetings, if we were able to post about our meetings multiple times, and you brought that up, but focus on that a little bit more. You say, you know, if you create this post, maybe you could use it for 1 week. Well, wait, maybe 2. Wait a second, maybe 6. Wait, maybe 12. Maybe 12 for one post that you create. And you have this, but wait, there's more kind of a thing. And trying to generate that excitement with the idea of setting it, forgetting it. You put it in place. You let other people see what's going on, and you continue it to kind of roll and gain momentum in that way. Sort of focus it in on the whole idea of you've got the ingredients, now let's put them together so that we can continue to use those ingredients. Great gestures, great focus, great ability to help us understand all the things that we can do to make this better. Thank you very much. Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Bill. Excellent evaluation. Next up is Jill, who will be evaluating Fred's speech. Take it away, Jill.
Thank you, Joe. As I started taking notes tonight and was going through this evaluation for Fred, I realized I'm evaluating creating effective visual aids project about visual aids. And I got caught up in a little bit of a cycle of what I was evaluating, Fred. So I've got a little bit here for you on both. As a whole, you were very informative, very knowledgeable on the subject, and you provided great information. It was well organized. That was one of the things that I was to focus on, was the organization. Very well organized as you walked us through. I was taking notes as you were going through and touching on some of those key points. You ended up using 2 different visual aids in this project. You used both PowerPoint and video. So well done on working on getting 2 different visual aids in there tonight, not just one. Normally PowerPoint obviously is what most people use, but it's great to see you putting video in there also. My feedback for you for improvement would just be to make sure that you have seamless transition when using those different visual aids. There was a little bit of hang up on finishing up that video and getting back over to PowerPoint. And the other feedback, which you probably already know, is making sure that the audio is sharing correctly when you are sharing a video. That's really the only constructive criticism I have for you. I thought you had good slides, you had good information. I think the other thing that caught me off guard a little bit, that for this speech, it might not be that impactful since you were focused on the PowerPoint and the visual aids, is when you're presenting with glasses on, it's a little bit hard to see your eyes where you're looking. Not necessarily important for this one since we were focused on the PowerPoint, but for the future, if you are trying to make impact and attempting to make eye contact with the audience, it might be helpful to take glasses off, or if not, opportunity. I'm not really sure if there's a way to change the lighting so there's not glare on there. Interestingly enough, my other feedback to challenge yourself would be to consider a handout or making sure that the PowerPoint is available. You had a lot of information, excellent content, but a lot of content. And I think for me, as I was looking at that, it was a lot to digest. It was incredibly important and helpful information about the lighting and the lenses and all of that stuff. But I think maybe a handout to take away, or at least providing us with the PowerPoint at the end of the presentation for us to take with, to look at, to digest, and to just fully understand the information is my last opportunity for you if you wanted to challenge yourself. I know the last time I had done a creating visual aids, I had made an attempt to do a handout just to try something different. So that's just a thought. But as a whole, I enjoy your enthusiasm. I enjoy your knowledge on the subject and enjoy your presentation skills, just how excited you are to share the information that you know. As a whole, it was a great presentation, and you did effectively utilize 2 different visual aid items in your presentation on effective visual aids. Back to you, Joe.
Thanks, Jill. Excellent points. Very well focused. I'll start off by evaluating the evaluators for my own evaluation of the meeting. Bill, you always have a very well-organized evaluation. I liked how you started off involving the audience. The interactive quality was really great. It was an effective way of emphasizing your own impressions and showing us all how the audience as a whole reacted by raising our hands and responding to different aspects of things that you were evaluating. It showed us how well Maren's goals were met, how different aspects of her speech worked with the audience and got the audience engaged. You always have great vocal emphasis and gestures. It's always fun to hear your evaluations. So thank you for another great evaluation. Jill, you led off with a description of your own reaction to the speech, which I thought was very effective. You focused on specific content examples that Fred used, still photography and video. You made very particular points, very specific examples of things to improve on, things you liked, things to challenge himself, like making the PowerPoint available. It was a very well-organized evaluation, and you finished with positives, and you reiterated some of the things you mentioned early on when you started the evaluation. So I thought that was a really good way of organizing an evaluation. As far as our meeting today overall, we filled the vacant roles efficiently. Basically, we needed one more evaluator, and Bob got a volunteer to step in to do that, and Bill did a great job. I'd always like to see the roles filled well before the meeting begins. So if our members and potential members would like to look ahead at future meetings on Easy Speak, maybe a month or even 2 months or 3 months ahead, and look for roles that are vacant. I also mentioned this to my home club. It's a lot of fun to look at vacant roles, see what things you might want to try, things you haven't done or things you want to practice, things you haven't done for a while but enjoyed before. It gives you time to prepare when you've already signed up for a role. Bob, our Toastmaster today, has such a great, easygoing demeanor. He creates a friendly atmosphere that puts everybody at ease. So thanks for that, Bob. It was good to see so many visitors today. And one thing that I think you could have done was maybe introduce the visitors or ask them where they're from, or just acknowledge the visitors at the start of the meeting. We did it throughout the meeting, so that was good. The unique PR Masters features that we have a few that are pretty unique to this club. I thought they were very well introduced today and described pretty effectively. For Dear PR Masters, the Dear Abby format is fun, but I think maybe we could consider opening the segment up to members and guests at a particular meeting, current members, current guests at the current meeting who could perhaps ask their own PR questions. So that kind of think of it as an opportunity to ask real questions that current meeting participants may have, and then all of us can pitch in and see if we can answer those questions. I do like the Dear Abby format, that's fun too, but maybe we could shake that up and try it a different way sometimes, or a combination of the two ways. Finally, I think Mentimeter is a cool technology, but sometimes it's slow to load for me. And when screen sharing comes into effect, sometimes it makes it hard to see my browser. I have to hit escape and go to the browser, and then by then, most of the feedback has been submitted. So sometimes maybe simpler is better. So much is going on at a PR Masters meeting that sometimes sticking to the basics is not necessarily a bad thing. I like to focus on the speakers and hear what they're saying and really take in what the points they're making and what they're saying. And sometimes I find a few of these things distracting a little bit, and we are here to practice speaking. So maybe we could as well, I mean, in addition to Mentimeter, maybe we could go around the virtual room and ask people to speak up and give their feedback verbally, since we are here to speak. But I do appreciate Mentimeter too, but maybe a combination of that. So overall, a great meeting, and I'll send it back to Carissa for her final timers report of the evaluators.
Thanks, Joe. Bill's evaluation was 3 minutes, 45 seconds, and Jill was 3 minutes, 17 seconds.
Thank you, Carissa. And with that, I'll send it back to Bob.
Do we have a closing mini engagement, or we're going to skip that this time? Skipping.
It would be hard to do it in mini.
Yeah. Okay. Instead of doing a mini engagement, why don't we talk to our guests? We'll make that the mini engagement. Let's engage with our guests. Show your faces. Give us some feedback. What did you like? What didn't you like? I see Tracy. I see Lisa. I see Jim, Scott, Nadine. Talk to us.
I like the Toastmaster of the meeting.
Bob.
Yes.
Bob, Vivian here, Vivian from Manila. be warned, when you tell me to talk to you, you should also say, shut up at some point in time, okay?
Shut up.
Done. All right. I loved all your content. And when I come to your meetings, I feel like my IQ goes up by 200 points. And because the cake is yummy, it was baked in a crock pot somehow, I feel that I have to earn my presence here because you welcomed me. So the icing on the cake would be everyone who talks, whether evaluating or delivering or timing, will deliver it in a speech contest manner of voice tone. Remember, someone said, should you be heard or should you be seen? Which one is a bigger disaster? Remember, that was said a while ago. So may I inspire you to be storytellers even when you are doing timing, grammarian, and evaluating. Tall order, but well, you have to shut me up now, Bob.
Okay. Thank you for the cue. You are a storyteller, that's for sure. So, Scott, what brought you here tonight?
I'm starting the new Toastmaster year as the VPPR for Babylon.
Awesome.
And you're right. And I that's the only role that I know absolutely nothing about. And that was the reason that I decided to do it, was because it was time to learn some of those things. And so I was interested in kind of dabbling my toes in here. Unfortunately, this time doesn't work for me to be able to attend meetings, but I thought I would just want to do a little sample here and see if by some chance I could sort of chat with somebody offline sometime. Thank you, though.
You're more than welcome. We've got a Facebook page. We've got all sorts of resources you can plug into outside of the meeting. Just get and stay in touch. That's great. Fantastic. Thank you, Scott. Tracy. Okay. Oh,
Bob.
Yes.
Yeah,
Jim.
Scott just mentioned getting resource and help, and you mentioned resources outside of this meeting as well. I'll add one more, and that is our district public relations manager, Stefana Johnson, has created a Facebook group for District 7 PR Masterminds. And so that'd be great for everyone in this club to join and participate in that group.
Yep. Okay. PR Masterminds. Whoa, there's so much to keep track of here.
I was just going to say, Maren does an awesome job in promoting this group. Every time I talk to her, she's wanting me to come. And just like Scott, it's not the most opportune time for me to meet in person. But what is awesome that I love that you record your meetings. And so I can go back in my own time and find gems and nuggets of information. So Scott, if you haven't checked that out yet, check their website out, because they have all their meetings from the past year posted. I love Carissa posting the agenda in the chat section. That was a neat idea. I don't know where you picked that up from, but I'm going to take that back to my home club of Portlandia and say, hey, let's post that in our chat session. I love the group feedback, the fast feedback. Part of our evaluations were writing our evaluations personally back to the speaker, and that guest, the group feedback, the fast group feedback. I like that idea. I'll have to play around with it, see what will work for my personal club. But overall, thank you for the warm welcome tonight, Marcy, Maren. I see some familiar faces with Tracy and Jim and Carissa, and Bob. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and for your feedback. Very welcome. And who else is left? Tracy? You've been mentioned several times here by other folks. You gonna bring us home?
I will. So I'm just grateful to be here, and it is a wealth of information in this club. This is my, I think, second time to be here. And I just love all the new ideas and the people and the input. And I walk away with a lot of inspiration. So thank you. And I will be back.
Oh, awesome. That's the book. Great to hear that. I'm the same way. I'm never disappointed by these meetings. Never disappointed. I love the variety. I love the calls to action. I love the connectivity, connection with other people, the skills building, the practical skills building, and then the challenge, personal challenges to me. I'm Maren's personal challenge to me, you know. That's good stuff, right? That's healthy. That's good for the clubs, good for growth. Thank you all for welcoming me to this club. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Matthew, the club president. Bring us home, Matthew.
Thank you very much, Bob. It was great as the Toastmaster. I really appreciated all of your enthusiasm for our meeting. One of the things that we do as Toastmasters is we like to grab a group shot, a group photo. So if you're comfortable appearing in our group shot, which we will use on our website or Facebook or whatever, please turn your camera on. If you're uncomfortable or would like not to appear on camera, that is also totally okay. Just turn your camera off.